Hey there everybody, meteorologist Brian Ivy. Look at the very expansive winter storm warnings. We have ice storm warnings, lots. These are all winter storm warnings here in the main pink. The brighter pink are the ice storm warnings into the deep south, and then you still have winter storm watches in effect out across portions of New England that will fill on in here later. So I did one very long, expansive 19-minute video that broke down all the different details of this storm. Wanted to do one more like typical broadcast style. We'll try to keep this one to less than 6 or 9 minutes or so, and keep it flowing a little bit faster. So yeah, definitely some fairly significant impacts associated with this storm, no doubt about it. Let's talk about it right now. Moderate, major impacts, widespread, that's for sure. Look at all this area here. That's all major impacts. This is all relative, so areas that see 1 inch of snow on rare occasions are going to be more major than areas that see sometimes a foot of snow on a regular occasion. But that says something when this whole area is under major significant impacts for a storm. This is the system right now. This is pushing on in from portions of the Baja California up into New Mexico, and it's kind of reforming a low. This is going to be the main player as we go through portions of the Gulf Coast eventually. Snow showers coming in out of the greater Cleveland area, kind of dispersing a little bit. It's fairly light stuff, dropping just a coating, and then we have some more snow showers right now across portions of New York State. And that is light to very briefly moderate at this point as we go into the noon hour. Very cold temperatures are starting to spread on in. This is the extreme cold though, -18, that's the actual feels like temperature. -5 around Grand Rapids. This is going to be colder air that is going to continue to push on in. These are wind chills right now. Actual wind chills, -40 in the Twin Cities, crazy cold. -34 in Milwaukee, -25 Chicago. So this cold is coming on in, and that Arctic air is going to play a big role with this system because we're tossing just a ton of different moisture into that true Arctic air mass. That air mass cannot hold a lot of moisture. Here we go. This is the system, and it's really going to get its act together as we go throughout the morning into the afternoon hours tomorrow. It's kind of a slow burn. It's going to take its time, really get and go into a crazy impressive storm. It's going to stay like that for a long time before it winds down slowly. Here's the icing side of it. This is the initial snow starting to push on in towards portions of the Ohio Valley. But notice it's still kind of broken here in the middle. Don't you worry. That is going to fill on in here nicely as we get a second ejection of low pressure here. And this guy pulls all this moisture out of the Gulf. And then we're going to get another low pressure system that's going to start to form here into the mid-Atlantic. So that's going to tap into that Atlantic moisture. And all these are going to work together to toss this moisture into all this cold air. So big time sleet and ice storm further off towards the south. We will push in warmer air at times, but this is going to be a big corridor of heavy snowfall that's going to be pushing on through. Look at all this. As we go throughout portions of your morning into the afternoon Sunday, we're talking very widespread, pretty significant heavy snow. We'll get some mixing in here a little bit. We'll get some dry slot in here to the mid-Atlantic, but there's still such an impressive thump of snow on that front side. It's going to drop several inches. This moves on a little bit to the northeast as we go throughout portions of your Monday early morning. So things wind down a little bit into the mid-Atlantic. You're still absolutely dominating across New England. And then look at this secondary low, still tossing more moisture in. We'll get lake enhancement here Monday morning coming off of northern Ohio as well, back into Lake Ontario. And then this system finally later on in the day moves on out. And then guess what? Another low pressure center will be pushing its way on in as we go throughout Tuesday to just add a little insult to injury with probably an inch or less, maybe a little lake effect. So how much? Well, probability of 12 inches of snow is pretty significant, honestly, from back across portions of like Oklahoma City through southern Indiana, through southern central Ohio, and then it's pretty much a lock. You're getting about a foot of snow in a lot of spots across Pennsylvania into southern New York State, probably a little north of New York City though, and then into New England towards that Boston area. You're not getting too much less just to the north of that though either. Ice is significant. Spots will see a good ½ inch of ice actual accretion. Some spots might be a little bit more in isolated areas. Once we get into our area, we're talking about much less into the mid-Atlantic, but The good news is that you're going to get that layer of snow first, and then that kind of ice falls on it. So not great for power lines still, but at least for like road clearing conditions, it's not the worst case scenario. Snowfall, this is kind of the very realistic map where you're not talking about a widespread 15 to 20 inches, but you're talking about a widespread of maybe like 10 to 14 or so. Yeah, lots of foot amounts. Probably around 8, 9 inches in the Cleveland area, probably 3, maybe 4 up towards Detroit in spots, probably about 4 or so into Chicago, a widespread foot looking likely wheeling to Pittsburgh. And then as you get into Baltimore, Washington, it's going to vary a little bit depending on where that mix area is, but impacts are going to be very similar. You're talking about 8, 9, 10, 11 inches of snow. You're talking more like 15 to maybe 20 inches of snow up into the Hudson Valley area, especially the higher terrain, pretty crazy stuff, and then also into Boston. Wow. Big deal storm, that's for sure. Crazy cold will be associated. Look at these wind chills as we go throughout tomorrow morning. How about negative 44, negative 15, negative 20 up into upstate portions of New York, negative 20 Minneapolis, very cold all the way down into the southern plains. As we go throughout the weekend, we don't moderate a ton with that system moving on through, but it will be at least a little bit closer to 0 feels like temperatures as we go throughout Sunday. And then on the back half of that system, more Arctic air is going to flow its way on down. Polar air, really, to be honest. Look at that. That's crazy cold. Pretty widespread, far-reaching, below 0 feels like temperatures, again, into early portions of next week as we just are locked and loaded with major, well below average cold across the eastern portion of the country. Yeah, that's certainly impressive for sure. All right, not bad, right on schedule, 7 minutes into the video. Thank you very much. We appreciate answering any kind of your questions, guiding you through the storm. We'll be here obviously all weekend long to walk you through it with different updates. Take care, be well, be safe.